Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Black Logic. President Donald Trump has agreed to a 30-day pause on imposing tariffs on Mexico and Canada after both countries pledged to bolster the border enforcement and combat drug trafficking. Both countries came out and said, we're going to do a better job. These imposed taxes, and we were talking tough. We were talking about retaliatory tariffs on the United States of America. Then after our economists got back with this, we realized that was combative. We understand that that wasn't going to work in our favor. So is there a deal to be made here? Because again, they understand that Donald Trump is a businessman. Especially when it comes to the president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, as well as Canada's Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau. He announced measures including the appointment of a fentanyl czar. So Canada is trying to stop the illegal transportation of fentanyl inside of America by the way of Mexico and other countries who are coming in illegally. And the establishment of a joint strike force with the U.S. to tackle organized crime. You see some of the things that people may not understand about how business is done. Some of this might have been scare tactics, and some of this might have been, well, it's to scare you so we can make a better deal. But if not, it's still going to happen. And I think that is the point that they say Donald Trump is a wild card. He's doing everything he said he was going to do. I believe we need to fall in line and give America a fair deal when it comes to trade. Now, President Claudia agreed to reinforce the border. She agreed to reinforce the border with 10,000 National Guard members of Mexico. And this pause averts an immediate trade war that could have severe economic consequences. Both uncertainty remains as tariffs could still be implemented if negotiations fail. Again, in this 30 days, because Trump has also indicated potential tariffs on China and the European Union. Despite market concerns, Trump has emphasized that these measures are part of a broader fight against drug smuggling and illegal immigration, because he noticed that a lot of these tariffs are getting people uneasy and also bringing them to the table to do the right thing. Because the president of Mexico said, we're going to have 10,000 troops at the border for all time. At least while I'm president, we're going to have 10,000 troops to patrol the border, to assist U.S. law enforcement so we can decrease the amount of illegal immigration, drug smuggling, etc., child trafficking from going inside the United States of America. Because if we kill the trade between America and Mexico, who you think economy is going to fall or hurt the most? Some people like, well, if you go into percentages, the amount of business we get at a particular price point of Mexico, no, we have other people we can do business with. We have other people that can make our vehicles if Americans can't make them. Again, we should be making our own cars. It's amazing how America used to be China 150 years ago, where America made everything ourselves. Everybody was coming to America to get things made. I know you guys are familiar with the Industrial Revolution. We did a lot of great things. Also, again, when it comes to Canada, the province of Ontario has decided to cancel, because they've been very, very, very petty, They are canceling $100 million contract with Starlink. And we understand that Starlink is a satellite company under Elon Musk. But this was in response to tariffs imposed by the United States. They said, yeah, we know Elon Musk had something to do with that. Even though he probably didn't. He probably privy to the information. But that $100 million contract, it was intended to connect 15,000 homes in remote areas of the province. And Ford expressed their discontent, stating that the Ontario would not do business with individuals intent on harming the province economy. Yeah, that's going to hurt Canadians. Again, Ford, we have manufacturing plants in Canada because they make a really great percentage of our vehicles. But nonetheless, you're going to hurt the economy of Canada. Yeah, we'll just put another warehouse or manufacturing plant in America. We were just trying to ship, we were trying to decrease the amount of taxes of import, export, vehicles to Canada. But that's okay. We'll just ride off the coattails of President Trump's tariffs and have you guys pay more since there's no American company there. So again, a lot of people may not like what Donald Trump is doing, but it seems as though it's becoming to be effective in some regards. Because both countries are now willing to make a deal. Because he's pausing Mexico and Canada's tariffs for 30 days. And in those 30 days, he's planning on having a slew of benefits that's included with the deal for the American citizen. And how it's going to, how that is broken down where it equates an economic boom in America. And he also created a sovereignty wealth fund that we're going to touch on. But it's one thing I know this is kind of outside of the context of what we're talking about, but I want this brother to break down illegal immigration and how a lot of people really think that Black folk are on board with people who are illegally in the country. A lot of people believe that Black people, one, is a monolith and that we're on board with illegal immigration, where a lot of us are not on board with this. Because we understand there is no Black-Brown alliance unless something is going down. During the Black Lives Matter movement, not the organization, there's a separate thing there. We can have that discussion later. But during the movement, basically stating that Black life is equal to everybody else's life, that's what it was really about, that our life has always been valued less than everyone else's. So it wasn't stating that Black Lives Matter more than anybody else's life, is that it's equal to everybody else's life. Okay. Now, when it comes to that, listen in.
And to that trifling ass, dirty ass girl that was rubbing her coochie on the patient's head, acting like it was cute and it was cool. That's how we knew that you weren't one of us. Cause my women don't become healthcare workers and rub their coochies on fucking patients' heads and shit and think that it's cute. That's not part of our fucking culture. And come to find out,
sis, why they leak your address and social security? So what on Twitter?
She's not even an American citizen.
I'm an immigrant. What the?
oh yeah.
Now, that's the part I want to see. Please excuse the profanity, but he captured a clip where her friend said, well, she's an immigrant, and she stated that she was an immigrant. And the reason why this is important, because we have a lot of people from other countries who were either born here, first generation, second generation, or was born in another country and came to America, and they have developed our vernacular. They have developed our slang. So they sound, they dress, they do their hair like Black Americans. So guess what? Every other demographic and race in America believes that some of these people who are doing these just demonstrous, evil, chaotic, nasty, trifling things, they think is Black Americans because they sound like us, they look like us, they walk like us, but they're not us. And the only way you can possibly tell in some regards is their official name and or if they admit it, okay, and probably check the immigration office. But I know that's out of context, my apologies, but I wanted to point that out. But back to the economy with the sovereignty wealth fund that Donald Trump has developed, I think that this video will cover a lot. So please listen in, because what a lot of people are now understanding about this wealth fund is how beneficial it can be to America. And I believe that we may see some developments again after, 2 years of Donald Trump being in office.
Next, this is an executive order. This charges your Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, and your Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick, to begin a process that will hopefully result in the creation of an American sovereign wealth fund.
It's a very exciting event. We're going to have a sovereign wealth fund, which we've never had. We have a lot of things that create wealth, and you're seeing that over the last 2 weeks. I think we've created more wealth. Other people have created de-wealth, the people, my predecessors. We're creating a lot of wealth. Scott, maybe you'd like to say something about it, and I'd ask also Howard to say something about it.
Yes, sir. This is very exciting. We're going to stand this thing up within the next 12 months. We're going to monetize the asset side of the U.S. balance sheet for the American people. We're going to put the assets to work. And I think it's going to be very exciting. We're going to study best practices as done around the world. It'll be a combination of liquid assets, assets that we have in this country as we work to bring them out for the American people.
The extraordinary size and scale of the U.S. government and the business it does with companies should create value for American citizens. If we are going to buy 2 billion COVID vaccines, maybe we should have some warrants and some equity in these companies and have that grow for the help of the American people. So I bring all these things together. I think we'll create, Scott and I will create an amazing sovereign wealth fund for you, sir.
Yeah, and so this conversation again went over maybe a couple of more minutes. There were some really key nuggets in what they stated. Of course, they explained it far better than I could. But again, the Sovereignty Wealth Fund may yield benefits. And these are some of the things that, because as Americans, we're not privy to. And this is the one thing I do respect about Donald Trump. Even the illusion, whether it be the reality or the illusion of transparency in government. I don't think we've never seen an administration, never seen in U.S. history, an administration that is so transparent initially. Now, again, when it comes to military warfare and strategy and being strategic, yeah, he can't speak about those things. But when it comes to our government and the businesses that we're doing, it seems as though that the gate is wide open, and I'm here for it. I love the transparency. I love the clear conciseness of what they're doing, while they're doing it. He had the people who are part of the executive orders to speak to the executive orders, especially the important ones. So this is important. This is important for even people who don't follow politics, but you may follow money, you may follow the economy, job growth, etc. Or it just may be interesting to you now that things are more transparent and that we are bringing back free speech where everything is not being criticized and cancel culture and all those crazy things that were occurring. So again, this is a good time. This is a good time. Now, and again, following back on this particular story, because, the Trump administration as well as Elon Musk has initiated actions to dismantle the U.S. Agency for International Development, okay? And this agency was responsible for providing international aid, sparking fierce opposition from congressional Democrats. And this particular effort, part of the Trump's broader bid to cut and reshape federal government operation, led to significant layoffs and program shutdowns at this office, the USAID office, affecting global humanitarian efforts because the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, claimed that the position of acting administrator, escalating the situation further. Democrats condemned the move as illegal and vowed court action. We're going to see how this story unfolds because a lot of people are not liking this. And one of the things that people was not aware of, I've heard this on the social media street, so to speak, the virtual streets, that Elon Musk did not have access to the system. He did not have access to the Treasury Department system, okay? Because they were stating how, Elon Musk has gained access. No, he was given access to the U.S. Treasury Department payment system after a standoff with Treasury officials. Musk, who again was appointed by the president to identify fraud and waste in government, faced resistance from career Treasury officer David Libby, who was placed on leave and then retired. The Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent eventually granted must team access. The system process, and listen to this, the system processes over $6 trillion in annual federal payments and contains personal information of millions of Americans. They want to know where the money went. They want to know where the money went.
So other countries have sovereign wealth funds, and they're much smaller countries, and they're not the United States. We have tremendous potential in this country, tremendous. You're seeing that's what's happened just in a short period of time. And as an example, TikTok, we're going to be doing something perhaps with TikTok, and perhaps not. If we make the right deal, we'll do it, otherwise we won't. But I have the right to do that, and we might put that in the sovereign wealth fund, whatever we make, or if we do a partnership with very wealthy people, a lot of options, but we could put that as an example in the fund, and we have a lot of other things that we could put in the fund. And I think in a short period of time, we'd have one of the biggest funds, and you know, some of them are pretty large, I must tell you. Some of the, like the Saudi Arabia fund is on the large side, but eventually we'll catch it. But we're going to create a lot of wealth for the fund, and I think it's about time that this country had a sovereign wealth fund, and these two gentlemen and some others are going to work with them very closely, and they'll be heading it up, and they're going to do a great job. Two highly respected people that have done unbelievably well in the world, in the real world. So that's a big deal, huh?
Yes, sir. I think it's going to create value and be of great strategic importance.
So again, a lot of things shaping up in Washington. Again, we are here for it, excited for it, all those great things. Now, and of course, I got to cover my eggs. I love eggs. But nonetheless, egg prices reach record high with no end in sight. They're stating how large eggs are now selling at $7.25 per dozen, according to the Department of Agriculture. And again, this is from the spread that they're trying to stop the spread of the bird flu, the disease that's killing all the chickens who lay eggs, killing millions of chickens, that's raising the price of healthy chickens and their eggs to a very stark premium. Okay, so again, this has nothing to do with inflation to a certain degree. This really has nothing to do with inflation. Egg prices did rise, but they're now skyrocketing because over 20 million chickens who laid eggs have either died or been, put to rest, so to speak, because of the bird flu. And so a lot of the healthy eggs, again, supply and demand, we know how the economy works. When supply is low, when supply is low and demand is high, prices go up. And then if demand is low and supplies are high, prices go down. That is the way the economy works. So again, a lot of us, we can understand. And yeah, we might have to just buy one dozen of eggs, okay? But again, these are just some stories that, again, most people are not familiar with, especially the U.S. Sovereign Wealth Fund and how they can buy that. They can buy TikTok and put it in the fund and have it as an ongoing asset for America and generation wealth. So again, I believe a lot of these things are absolutely good. Also, we talked about how they had this massive protest in LA, and they've been causing all sorts of, havoc in Los Angeles during a very trying time. Don't forget that the Palisades in Los Angeles no longer remains. It was burnt down to a crisp. It's burnt down to shambles, but they have been, marching and protesting. And this is the thing I was stating yesterday. In America, according to the Constitution, and I believe the Constitution is for citizens. No, I'm not stating that all these people in the pictures are illegals. I'm not stating that. But when you protest in America, especially in certain places, you have to have a permit. They were marching and protesting on the freeway. I doubt if you will ever get a protest for that where you are just causing massive congestion, right? Major gridlocks in the city of Los Angeles. Okay, here this is some graphics. Here's one picture. They're just literally marching down the freeway and it's in total gridlock. And the disrespectful part for me, The disrespectful part for me is not the marching on the freeway, even though that's all types of wrong. Again, I kind of gave a spiel of how they should use all resources for those who are breaking the law, walking on U.S. freeways, causing major gridlocks. That's a whole nother bit I gave. But I'll say this. The disrespect is the flag. It's the flag. I'm going to tell you why. You are protesting in a country that is foreign to yours, different than yours, not your country. And instead of adopting some American pride or even faking the funk and buying American flags and showing Americans, we love this country. We love the opportunities that has been provided for us by you. We love it. We love what you have done with your laws. We love the fact that we can come here and there's opportunity for us for work and feed our families and live a better life in America and wave the American flag. But no, they're in the country, some of them illegally, and they're using their country's flag doing it. That's not only disrespectful, but I feel as though they're spitting in America's face. Now, again, some of these people did have American flags. Okay, so my disrespect is not to them, but to those who are just waving a flag, marching a flag, speaking about their country, oh, Mexico, oh, Mexico. And again, I have Mexican friends. Mexico is a wonderful country. This has nothing to do with the country. This has nothing to do with the people of Mexico. But I'm referring to these people who are marching down on U.S. roads, protesting to stay in the country, some of them illegally, waving their country flag. How disrespectful is that? And I don't think people are looking at it like that. I don't think people are looking at it like the way I'm looking at it. Let's stop getting with, oh, they're coming over here for families and a better way of life. Okay, I got it. But what about the disrespect? No one is speaking about the disrespect of a lot of these people who are just forcing themselves inside of our country to stay here. No one is talking about that. Which brings me to my last segment here. Thank you guys for joining me here. If you're new to Black Logic, please subscribe to the channel. Terrell says, was up to you as well. I want to jump right to a very important figure in American history. I want to point to a very exploratory figure in American history, AKA Black history. Now, and again, I gave a spiel on how people look at Black history, American history. We understand that Black history is American history, okay? But sometimes things go unnoticed. So we have to speak about those things. And those things tonight is Matthew Alexander Henson. When people talk about the first men to reach the North Pole, the name Robert Peary often comes up. Who's Robert Peary? This fellow here. But what if I told you that the real hero, and Robert Peary was a naval officer, but what if I told you that the real hero of that journey, the man who actually set foot on the ice first, was no other than a Black explorer named Alexander Henson, also known as Matthew Henson, a man whose name was nearly erased from history. And that man, as we see here, Matthew Alexander Henson, he was a fearless adventurer, master navigator, and the unsung first human to reach the North Pole on April 6, 1909. And why was he the first to touch on the ice? I have a theory. Robert Peary was like, I'm not going to try it because I don't know if it's safe. But Matthew, why don't you go try it? And of course, him being Negro at the time, he accepted the risk and it was fine. So that's why they say that he was the first in the North Pole. But his story is one of Black excellence and perseverance and survival. This is a story about a man who defied racism and proved that Black men belong in the annals of history, greatest achievements. Matthew Henson was born in 1866 in Charles County, Maryland, just 1 year after the Civil War ended. And this particular graphic that you see on your screen here is from ArlingtonCemetery.mil. ArlingtonCemetery.mil. Very important, the sources where you get information. Okay. And I want you guys, as I give you commentary here, I'll pop this on your screens for you guys to read for your own viewing. But what you're hearing and what you're reading is going to be different. Because as a black child in post-slavery America, his opportunities were extremely limited. Orphaned at an early age, he left home at just 12 years old and found work as a cabin boy on a merchant ship, where he learned navigation, seamanship, map reading, and survival skills, all of which would later make him indispensable as an Arctic explorer. At 20 years old, Henson met Robert Peary, who was again that U.S. naval officer and very an ambitious explorer. Peary recognized Henson's exceptional skills, hiring him as his personal assistant. What started as a simple job turned into a lifetime of exploration, from Central America to the icy wastelands of Arctic. Henson became Peary's most trusted companion, standing by his side on multiple dangerous expeditions, unlike other team members who couldn't handle the brutal Arctic conditions. They couldn't handle it. They said, how's this black man, who are the tropical people, can handle the harsh conditions of the Arctic? Henson thrived. He became fluent in the Inuit language, learned to hunt, fish, build sleds, and train sled dogs from the indigenous Inuit people, making him even more skilled than Peary himself in surviving the Arctic. After 7 failed attempts to reach the North Pole, Peary and Henson embarked on their most ambitious journey in around 1908 and 1909. They endured temperatures below 50 degrees. Temperatures below 50 degrees. Some of us won't even go out when it's 30 degrees. But they were in below 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Frostbite and starvation, blizzards that wiped out entire teams, treacherous ice cracks and shifting glaciers. But through it all, Henson remained the strongest and most capable. But by the time they were near the pole, Peary, suffering from exhaustion and frozen limbs, could barely walk. Henson, on the other hand, forged ahead on a dog sled and became the first man to step foot on the North Pole on April 6, 1909. When Peary finally caught up, Henson recalled the moment. I was in the lead that had overshot the mark a couple of miles. We went back and found the flag and planted it. But despite Henson being the true first human to set foot on the North Pole, history would largely credit Peary alone. Because don't forget, Henson was a black man, a Negro, during a time where we wasn't recognized in the late 1800s as well as the early 1900s. This was an era of racism and erasure, the whitewashing of black history. And even after this monumental achievement, Henson was largely ignored. Peary was celebrated as a national hero. He was awarded medals and honors with promotions, while Henson was denied recognition simply because he was black. Despite being the most skilled member of the expedition, Henson was forced to work as a government clerk after returning from the Arctic, while Peary lived as a famous explorer. It took decades before the world will finally acknowledge Henson's role in conquering the North Pole. In 1912, he wrote his memoir, A Negro Explorer at the North Pole, revealing the truth about his journey. That's the name of the book. If, in case any of you guys want to read it for yourself, it is called A Negro Explorer at the North Pole. In 1937, he was finally honored by the Explorers Club, which made him a member. In 1944, he received the Congressional Medal of Honor, but only as a secondary award to Peary's medal. Also in 1988, nearly 80 years after the expedition, Henson and his wife were reburied with full honors at Arlington National Cemetery alongside Peary. So today's Henson legacy cannot be erased. His achievements paved the way for Black explorers and adventurers worldwide. His courage and skill prove that Black excellence knows no bounds, even in the frozen Arctic, thousands of miles away from home. His story has inspired Black explorers like Barbara Hillary, the first Black woman to reach the North Pole. He has been honored with statues, schools named after him, and even a U.S. naval ship, the USNS Matthew Henson. Did anyone know that? That a naval ship was named after the first man who was Black at the North Pole, the U.S. Naval Matthew Henson. Matthew Henson wasn't just an assistant, guys. He was a true first man to reach the North Pole, a master of Arctic survival and a pioneer whose name deserved to be celebrated in every history book. His story is a testament, very small, believe it or not, even though his achievements are law, but it's a small testament to Black resilience, skill, and determination, proving once again that Black history is American history as well as world history. Those are some of the achievements that we should definitely know about and we should hold true to our heart. And that's the ground that we essentially stand on. You guys have a great and wonderful evening. This is Black Logic.